I'm Robert Cavuto, and today on Sonic Perspectives, we are speaking with guitar legend John Petrucci of Dream Theater fame for his upcoming 28-day U.S. solo tour supporting his 2020 release, Terminal Velocity, and his 2005 release, Suspended Animation. John, welcome. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm excited to speak to you. So that's great.
Awesome, man.
So when we spoke about a year ago for the Dream Theater release of View from the Top of the World, I asked you about a possible solo tour. You told
Yeah.
me it wasn't really possible at the time because of everything was being locked down. The venues were all closed up. Is it finally exciting to get back out and promote this CD properly with a headlining tour?
It really is, because I tried to kind of squeeze this in. Dream Theater had a couple of changes in our schedule. And the thing about booking tours is you really got to know well in advance so you could book it properly. You need like a half a year or something. And so I tried to jump on when we had changed our schedule last year, but that was just too quick. And I saw an opening this time, that's starting in October, about 5 months ago, because again, Dream Theater had changed our schedule, and now we're not going back to Europe until January.
Okay.
So I said, we're not doing anything in the fall. He called my agent. Can we make this happen? It's funny because the album the Terminal came out 2 years ago. I never toured for Suspended Animation.
Right.
Besides doing like the G3 shows and stuff. I never really did a proper headlining solo tour. This is my first one, believe it or not.
Cool. Yeah, I saw you with G3. I guess it was 2018 in Newark, New Jersey. So that
Nice.
was cool too. Yeah. Now you have your old Dream Theater partner, Mike Portnoy, playing drums. Is this the first time you guys have played live together since Dream Theater?
It will be, since Mike left. He left the band about 12 years ago.
Yeah, 2010.
So our last show was a festival in Japan that we played together.
Okay.
So the first show of this tour is in Providence, Rhode Island on October 5th. And when we step on stage, that'll be the first time we stepped on stage together and performed live since that last show in Japan. So it's a big deal. It's kind of a personal event for the two of us.
Right.
And I'm so happy that him and Dave could do this tour with me. Obviously, they recorded drums and bass on Terminal Velocity, so it's that same trio, that same band, and we played a bunch of shows as that same trio back in the early days of G3. So the first one I did in 2001 and all those things. It was me, Mike, and Dave. So the band's back together.
That's great. That's great. I think fans are going to be super excited, not only to see you solo, but also see Mike back with you guys.
Nice.
You talked about it earlier about coordinating your schedule. I have to believe coordinating Mike's schedule is pretty difficult because he's in a million bands.
Absolutely. Well, that was my first worry was like, okay, I know when I want to do this. First person I need to call is Mike because he's going to, and of course he was like, yeah, I'd love to. Let me check to see if I have something. Like I guess he's in so many projects, who knows if he has something in the fall. Oh, Transatlantic's going out, or Winery Dogs, whatever. But fortunately he came back and he was like, no, I'm open. So
good for you. That was great. We're excited.
That's why you need that advanced timing,
Yeah. I'm going to come out and see you at Count Basie in October. So
nice in New Jersey.
Yes,
cool.
From New Jersey. So yeah. Now I'm sure you guys have been performing for so long and so technically proficient that it's not difficult to get back together again to start playing. It's like riding a bike. But how long will it take you to get up to speed with the three of you?
Well, there's literally getting up to speed with the song, the actual songs and the guitar parts.
Yeah. And
that takes a lot of prep, and that's something that I take really seriously. So I've been personally working on that for the past few months. I think us playing together is really second nature. I mean, it's just those guys are so great. We kick into a song and it just like comes alive. But I think that the prep before you walk into that rehearsal room is so important. And here's the funny thing about a lot of this stuff. it was never actually played by a band yet. Like, for example, the entire Terminal Velocity record, I wrote, recorded the guitar parts, programmed drums, played bass, and then sent it to those guys. They, then recorded real drums. Mike came to my studio. Dave recorded bass remotely in Florida. But we never actually played any of those songs as a band. So it's like a weird, it's this weird feeling. So we have rehearsals in about a week or so. So it's the first time we kick into the opening track will be pretty funny.
No, that was one of my questions for you because, some songs work great on the record, but
Yeah.
then they translate live for various reasons. And I was going to ask you, what songs don't you think are going to translate live from a playing perspective?
Well, they should all translate live, but I will say this, they will be different as far as the orchestration, because it's just a trio. I can't, when I record my solo albums, I'm just thinking, I kind of put my producer cap on and I'm like, I want rhythm guitars here, and this sounds like a good spot for a harmony, and I'll do an octave thing here. Obviously, with the trio, there's no additional musicians, there's no rhythm guitar player, etc. So, I have to kind of make those decisions as I'm relearning these songs. What's going to be my primary focus on guitar? Which parts am I going to play? Which parts am I going to leave out? And so the live versions will be different. It'll be the same arrangement, but the orchestration will not be the same. To me, that's exciting because I love the sound of a trio. Guitar, bass, drums. It's just pure. My favorite band is Rush. So, yeah. So, and I have experience doing this, because I played the Suspended Animation songs live before. I've actually played a bunch of the Terminal songs before the record was actually recorded live out on G3. So I know the feeling of kind of making the arrangement fit. I mean, the orchestration fit for a trio. So it's fun. I think hopefully they'll all work, but I guess we'll see in rehearsals.
Yeah. I guess you could always cut a song out or add a song. Whatever.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Terminal Velocity, what song had the most layered guitars on it?
One of them is definitely Temple of Circadia. That is a song I wrote on the 7-string. I kind of had recorded this overdub sort of guitar ethereal thing that almost sounded like a synth. There's harmonies. There's a middle section that has clean acoustic and a 2-part harmony. There's no way I could do, unless I grow some more arms. So we'll see. But here's the cool thing too about playing with somebody like Dave LaRue. Dave could take a section like that and just fill it out, and just as a bass player, just make it sound so musical. And again, it's kind of a treat for the audience because now they're getting this different version.
Right.
Sure, yeah, you're not going to hear the guitar harmonies and the clean parts going by, and it might sound empty, if you want to use that word, but I don't think it will. I think Dave knows how to fill that out. I think I'm used to playing in a trio setting, and I kind of know how to adjust the parts a little bit to make it all work out. Yeah, and that's what I used to love about seeing the Steve Morse band. It was Steve Morse, Dave LaRue, and Van Romain, and between the way Steve played and his effects coming in and out and everything, you never felt lacking, for the experience.
No, that's pretty fascinating. You had the Liquid Tension Experiment, an album, come out in 2021. Mike is half of that band. Are you going to be playing any songs off of that live?
I'm not going to. I feel like that's a whole different thing. That's Mike, Tony, and Jordan. It kind of deserves its own thing. And I have enough solo material where I don't really need to pull in, Dream Theater songs or Liquid Tension songs. I'm just going to make this about my solo material because, again, I've never actually done a headlining solo tour. So, the focus will be my music. Yeah.
I would feel the same way for Dream Theater also, right? You're not going
Yeah,
to be performing any Dream Theater because you want to see Dream Theater, go see that tour, right?
exactly. And it's a whole different thing. We have
Mhm.
keyboards, we have vocals, and when I first, the funny thing is when I first got asked to do G3 back in 2001, I didn't have any solo material. I had to fill up my 45-minute spot, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to play.
Right, right,
So, so I wrote some songs that eventually ended up being on suspended animation. And then I also played excerpts from Liquid Tension and excerpts from Dream Theater because I didn't have the material to fill it out.
right,
But
right.
in this case, I do have the material, so it'll be all the solo album stuff.
How long do you think you're going to play for?
This should be an hour and a half show.
That's awesome. Very,
Yeah.
very good. How do you keep the excitement of an instrumental guitar concert exciting for the fans?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question because it's definitely a very specific type of concert. You're going to see instrumental music. There's no vocals. There's
Right.
I I think first of all, people going to this show they're kind of going to know what to expect. It's not like they're just like picking up who the paper, who's this guy? Let me go see him, and then like they're disappointed. Oh, there was never any singing. So I think people know what they're getting in for. And then to me, honestly, it comes down to the compositions and the songs. That's why when you go to see somebody like Joe Satriani or Eric Johnson or
Yeah.
just the great players, the concert carries itself because it's not only that the players are talented and you're watching people do their thing really well, but the songs are moving. They speak to people, and I think that's so important. And I always keep that in mind when I'm writing. The songs they're not just excuses to play guitar solos over.
Right.
They're actual musical compositions. So
Yeah.
that hopefully holds people's attention.
And I think it will. That's a great response too. When I saw you last time I saw you with G3, there was a magical bond between you and the guitar, and that's what drew me into your playing and becoming a fan of you. Tell me about that bond and that magic that you have with the guitar. It's almost like it's an extension of you and your brain,
Yeah.
and your fingers.
No, you're right. Well, thanks for saying that. I appreciate it. I'm fortunate enough that at a young age I found something that spoke to me. I always was a creative type,
Mhm.
so I was always into drawing and art and poetry and stuff. And when I discovered the guitar, it just clicked, and it did. It ended up being, an extension of my personality, and even certain things that you might not see from me as an actual person,
Mhm.
you'll get in the music,
Yeah.
and so it's been just this great relationship, with music, and then having the guitar be that vessel because people are they gravitate towards certain instruments for all different reasons. So
Yeah.
I just feel really fortunate that I was able to discover that at some point, figure out, hey, I can do this pretty well, and then it becomes like something that, oh, this creative part of me, I get to do that through this instrument. And what a beautiful instrument it is. I mean, it's like the perfect songwriting instrument. It's electric rock guitar is one of the most expressive instruments,
Right.
ever, so yeah,
I
I
know
just
that's
love it.
what drew me into you. So I'm a big
Thank
fan
you.
of your playing.
Thank
Just
you.
by seeing you in 2018, of course, hearing your music, but then to actually see you perform, it was actually very inspiring.
Thank you
I
so
can't
much.
do it. I can't play it, but I do enjoy watching you do it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Tell me a little about you're playing theaters, headlining as a solo artist, and then with Dream Theater, you play arenas and festivals. Tell me
Yeah.
about the dichotomy of the two settings and your level of engagement for one versus the other, if
Yeah.
there even
Well,
is one.
it's a whole different thing. Dream Theater is an established band who we've toured since 1992 and built such a solid and strong fan base all over the world, and we've paid our dues and earned our ability to step on those big stages and play those festivals or headline those arenas. And it's wonderful. You have to be realistic as a solo venture. You're not going to do that same kind of business off the bat. And there are some guys that have been doing this as solo artists for a long time and have developed that so well. Steve Vai and Satriani and Bonamassa and all these guys. So you have to kind of be realistic about what you book. Like, I'm not going to book the same venues that Dream Theater does. And I think that would be unrealistic. And you have to kind of approach it that way with your agent and say, what do we hope to do here? In some ways, you kind of like undersell the shows a little bit, just so you don't bite off more than you can chew. The ironic thing is that the Count Basie is the venue that Dream Theater plays in New Jersey. So we'll see. There's a couple of those, but a lot of them are kind of more intimate theaters and stuff like that, which I think is perfect for this type of thing.
Yeah.
I do.
I've never been to Count Basie, so I'm excited to see what it's all about and the size of it. And
it's an old theater. It's like just classic, kind of older theater that's been around for a long time.
Awesome. Yeah. And View from the Top of the World has been out for almost a year, I guess. Or a little bit less. I think it came out beginning of October. It's an incredible testament to the passion and the drive of you and your band. What's next steps for Dream Theater?
We had a great surprise back in April when we won the Grammy. So that that was something that we never, imagined as a prog band ever winning something like that. So that was a wonderful experience. We have a lot of touring to sort of catch up on because we had the 2 years there over the pandemic, as every band did, where there was no playing. So there's a lot more touring in support of A View from the Top of the World. So we're looking forward to that in 2023 coming up. Yeah.
Great. Now you won the Grammy. Is there pressure on you for when you do decide to start working on the next album that you got to win a Grammy, or it's got to be,
No, we don't think along those lines. I think that's, one of the things that we kind of embrace really early on is to do our thing the best to our ability, the way we want to do it,
Right.
and that's what builds a solid career, and that's what keeps really loyal fans, because they kind of, respect that the band is genuine in that way. So no, we don't think, oh, how can we win a Grammy? I mean, that you can't. First of all, you can't possibly even. There's no formula. You can make that happen. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. In this case, it's the fact that the members of the Recording Academy that are comprised of musicians and producers and everybody else thought that we deserved that this year, and that's a really great kind of pat on the back by the industry in that sense. Yeah, so that was really nice. I felt like we represented the prog the prog sphere with that. Yeah,
you do. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, and I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing your show out in the Count Basie. So thank you so much.
Great. Could I mention one more thing before we close?
Sure.
And I'm wearing the shirt. So one of the exciting things about this tour is the opening band is Mean Streak, and for Dream Theater fans who probably know the history, but if people don't, Mean Streak is an all-female metal band comprised of my wife Rena, Mike Portnoy's wife Marlene, John Myung's wife Lisa, and two other women. So when we were when we first met and everything, we were dating them, and with three of us, married three of them. And they're just a great band. They disbanded a long time ago, but they recently reunited. And I said to my wife, I'm like, if I ever do a solo tour, I'd love to have you guys open. So they are opening. So it's a great part of the family history, and they're a great band. It's going to be so much fun. They're going to bring the metal to the show. So it's going to be a great night.
That's awesome. Are you going to give them less lights, bad dressing?
Yeah, right. No, I can't do that to them. That's funny.
Did they get their name from the YNT song?
I believe so. Yeah.
That's a great song.
So.
Did they do that? They do a cover of it?
No, they don't. That's a great song, though. Yeah, I believe they got their name from that song. Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing both bands. So that's
awesome, man.
Thank you for sharing that. I didn't think of that. Thank you.
No problem.
Take care, Easy.
All right. Bye-bye.